What's up, everyone? Was there a little bit of slight panic there as the Spaces link decided to rug for everyone?
Dude, that was straight up not fun. My apologies, guys. It said I started the space on my phone, and then it wouldn't let me do anything, and nobody was joining. And I was like, well, that's not a good sign. And unfortunately, we had 200 people set reminders for that previous link, but it is dead in the water, and having some trouble getting Wolves down in here as well. So huge thank you to everybody that navigated to it anyway. Love you guys, and if you don't mind trying to help us spread the word about the space since we're working with a little bit of a handicap today. I will be eternally grateful. Big smooches to everybody that's able to do that. We're going to get started in 2 seconds, just trying to work something out on my other phone for the Wolves Dow, and we'll get going. But the Iceman is here for the first time, and Koji has the weirdest profile picture of all time. And so those are some interesting points to jump off on.
Please don't give the mic to Koji. You know what happened last time on the pre-show when we let him go off. But yeah, welcome,
Oh,
Icy.
I'm in the middle of another duty issue here, and it's
Not
not my
again.
kid.
Not again.
It's not my kid this time. My dog is having the opposite problem all over my house. So, uh, be thankful that you can't smell through spaces.
It is so epic to be here, guys. I kind of consider myself like the unofficial official fan of the show. I tune in every single week, and I'm such big fans of you guys. So thank you for having me. Super excited, man. I'm
Welcome.
I feel like I'm dubbed. Like I'm just not gonna stop smiling this whole time.
Dude, Icy has been telling me for like 10 consecutive weeks that I've been trying to get him on the show that he's like not ready. I was like, dude, you just hosted a great space. You're totally ready. Lens, if you can come up as the co-host since Wolves Dow can't make it in, I want to make space to make sure we get Kate up here too, who is our last panelist. And if you can also update the title of it, I think we can take out the previous link rugged, just make it all the fun stuff that we're going to discuss today. People will figure it out. And again, huge shout out to the like 100 people that are already here despite the technical difficulties and starting late. Not what I like to do, but we're going to jump into it so we don't get further delayed. From kick flips to crypto, he's an amateur skateboarder who swapped half pipes for hash rates. He's spent 6 years in the crypto circuit, riding the bullish and bearish waves with a skater's resilience. His journey into this world began with the allure of ice poker, but it was the boundless possibilities of Web3 gaming that truly captivated his spirit. With the launch of Web3 Gamer, he's not just a participant, but a pioneer, propelling this space forward. From conceptualizing to hosting the extraordinary in real life Web3 Gaming Award show in Miami, backed by Immutable, he's dragging us forward whether we like it or not. Now he's working with Owned on producing the Gamer League, which hopes to onboard the next million gamers into Web3. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the panel for the first time, the poker pioneer, the award show architect. It's my guy, Icy.
My God, Sam, I love you so much. Thank you. I actually got a sneak peek earlier today of Sam's intro for me on our mastermind, and I actually just posted the reaction video, which might be the first live reaction to a Sam intro. So don't leave the space. Like I'll post it in the comments if anyone wants to see it. But yeah, that's super fun. But shout out to Game League. It is live right now. Thank you guys. Go claim your pass for free with the click of a button. You can get a free shrapnel extraction pack and a parallel pack when you sign up. Guys, I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much.
The saga of people getting free shrapnel extraction packs via Gamified continues in more ways than one. Up next, while many meander through the maze of mediocrity, this maestro melds might and melody, making masterpieces that mystify many. Emerging from the echoes of elite enterprises, from the serene sanctuaries of strategic sales to Alibaba, to the sizzling stage of Sin City's poker showdowns, his prowess in poker is paralleled only by the proficiency in punctuating the peripheries of what's permissible. He's a consumer of souls, a gatekeeper of knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the paragon of poker, the unparalleled titan of taboo, steering the ship of my angry Yakuza girlfriend. It's Senjin.
Hey, what's up? How you guys doing? That was a fucking sick intro, man. Thank you for upgrading it even more. Yeah, I'm alive. I think I slept like 10 hours, so I'm ready to go.
How do you sound more tired than when you were waking up for this show at 4 in the morning? I don't know how it's possible, but I know you'll bring the spice when the curtain calls for you. Up next, in a universe where imagination interlaces with innovation, he stands as a beacon of boundless creativity, the architect of parallel. His vision has refined the essence of gaming within the metaverse, intertwining play with the transformative power of NFTs. Now, as Planetfall unfolds, a new chapter beckons, inviting us all to traverse the depths of his creativity. This visionary's world is not just seen, but to be experienced, where every player's choice is a brushstroke on an ever-expanding canvas. So embark on the journey through the visionary's veil. Welcome back to the panel, the harbinger of harmony, the crusader of the cards, the sentinel of symmetry, the prince of parallel. It's Koji.
Thanks for having me, man. Despite myself, you keep having me back, so I really appreciate it.
Despite that PFP, we'll see if next week you make it back. Up next, seamlessly syncing strategy with scorching skirmishes, he's transformed the terrain of the first-person frontier, firing up fans and fueling frenzied firefights, guiding this game with the gravitas garnered from governing a grand $100 million budget for Twitch Prime. His marksmanship in marketing is as masterful as a sniper's sight. Every bullet, blast, and ballistic in an arsenal aligns with the audacious ambition. But beyond the blazes and barrages, at the day's dusk, he descends into the delightful duty of a dad, delicately doting on his darling daughter, Hazel. That was a tricky one. Step aside, soldiers, and salute the supreme sharpshooter. It's the FPS phenom, the combat connoisseur, representing Shrapnel. It's my man, Tony.
Hey, thanks for having us up here again, guys. We love being here. Really excited to catch up with everyone. Koji, your PFP has gotten really aggressive, and I can't wait to dig into that a little bit. And Sinjin, I loved the pictures of you in Yellow Panther recently. They were everything I expect from you. I'm like super excited for this week.
Aren't we all? Up next, from Frapper to Crunchyroll, his odyssey is a testament to the transformative power of content and consumer media. His ventures traverse vast and varied landscapes, each a bastion of breakthrough success, culminating in the coveted embrace of giants like Sony, a virtuoso of venture variety. His acumen as an angel investor is nothing short of astronomical, adorning 100-plus hopefuls with his hallmark of support, including Stripe and Sky Mavis. So gather and gaze upon the serial sovereign of startups, the digital Douyin representing Forge. It's Kun.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you, Kun. Looking forward to it, man. Up next, from the sprawling landscapes of PC to the palm-held wonders of mobile and the boundary-pushing realms of VR, there exists a titan who's conquered them all. In the ever-evolving digital dominion, he stands tall as a transcending trailblazer. With every pixel he touches, he transforms gaming genres, set his unparalleled prowess. Yet beneath the glittering accolades, this luminary is also a charismatic force of nature, a doting father of three, and a lodestar in our industry. Welcome back to the panel, the architect of adventures, the omnipotent overlord of omnichannel odysseys. It's the prolific Paul Bettner.
Hey guys, Sam, thank you. Thank you for not missing the fact that I'm also a father of 5, apparently, 3 that live with me and 2 that, you know, are loved from a distance, but not estranged. Anyway, thank you so much for having me on the show again. I'm so glad to be here with you all. It's going to be a banger.
Never estranged from Daddy Paul, no matter how far away he is.
Never.
Missed that message on Twitter, go find. It was on Katie's, I think. Anyway, moving on. Charting a course from the corporate citadels of Merrill Lynch to the dramatic domains of the actor's studio, her journey is a tapestry of tenacity and talent. A marketer with a magician's flair at Procter & Gamble, crypto's siren song lured her in 2020, where she dove deep, never to resurface the same. Alongside Neo Tokyo's finest, she co-crafted NGMI Lab, a digital divining rod for the crypto curious, distilling dense data into digestible directives. As the CMO of Army of Fortune, her saga surges on, steering stories and strategies with the same spirit she once spun on stage. So ready your applause for the maven of marketing, the blockchain bard representing Army of Fortune. For the first time, it's Coco.
Thank you so much. That is like literally the best hype man I have ever encountered. Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here, up here with the Giants. I'm really stoked to be included today. So thank you.
That means a lot coming from you, Coco, who I know has an experience on stage. I appreciate that. And real quick, we're giving out Overworld and Army of Fortune whitelists as well as some extraction packs. And I'm starting early since we had that little fumble at the beginning. Whoever says their favorite intro of the day, somebody's going to win an Overworld whitelist and an Army of Fortune whitelist. So drop in the comments and tell me which one's your favorite. 3 more to go. In the grand tapestry of tech twirls a tightness of tenacity, her tactics and talents touching the terrains of both tradition and tomorrow. An artist of algorithms and an aficionado of alliteration, bouncing between bites and brilliance. She's the belle of the blockchain ballroom. Of course, it's none other than Decrypt's Kate Irwin.
Yo, what's up?
Welcome back, Kate.
Kate coming in hot. Great to have you back.
Kate came to carry me. That's what happened. Thank you, Kate. I love you.
To carry us all, I think you mean, but especially this next guest. From battling blazes to burning business blueprints to building business blueprints, he's a heavyweight of hustle and a deity of deals. Every venture vibrates with a veritable vitality. In the realm of revenue relations and roaring returns, he reigns regal, masterfully merging meticulous methods with magnificent maneuvers. His stature, a stunning sight, is shadowed only by his strategic smarts and sealing sensational successes. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to be riveted by the Baron of Business Brilliance, the mastermind with the Midas touch. It's Jerry, the Golden God singer.
What's up? Don't appreciate the veiled fat jokes that you threw in there. I don't know why I'd have to be classified as a heavyweight. Really appreciate the fact that you stuttered on a couple of intros. I will now refer to you as Stuttering Stefanina for the rest of the episode.
Perfect. All right. Appreciate that. Up last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, alongside every great Jesus Christ, alongside every great melody is a rhythm that completes the tune. Our gamified ensemble is no different. With unwavering support and the uncanny knack to provide the perfect context, he brings clarity when conversations get clouded. Let's hail the harmonizer of our highlights, the sensational sidekick, the little lizard legend. It's my man Lems.
GM, everyone. I actually want to just shout out all our listeners. We are at almost like a couple of listens short of 3K listens on last week's episode, which is a new record for Gamified. So just shout out to everyone who comes live, but also listens afterwards, because that kind of blew me away. I did not expect us to get to almost 3K listens. And we got extraction packs, as always, to give away from, our good old sponsor, Shrapnel. And as Sam said, we got 5 Overworld and 5 Army of Fortune whitelists. So I will be checking out the comments. So all top comments are going to be flagged, and we'll be giving out some whitelists. So make sure to be commenting on the show.
Hell yeah, brother. Thank you for that. Stuttering Stefanina has 2 more 2 more reads to get through, and then we'll be into the show. Lock and load for today's digital duels, and let's give a tactical salute to our high caliber patron, the official juggernaut of Web3 warfare, Shrapnel, the official game of Gamified. Shrapnel is the FPS juggernaut that's blasting its way through the competition and planting the flag deep in the battleground of our hearts. Get those fingers combat ready on the WASD keys and take aim at the comment section below. A duo of lucky sharpshooters will score themselves an extraction pack from today's Shrapnel Armory. But be warned, combatants, these are no ordinary supply drops. They're fully stocked arsenals ready to unleash a barrage of domination in Shrapnel's intense firefights for countless campaigns to come. And let's not overlook the towering titan of tech that's taming the tempest of the crypto climate, transforming turbulence into a triumph. Avalanche, the official blockchain of Gamified. When the markets move and muster maelstroms, Avalanche is the beacon of balance, blazing trails through the blizzard, a bastion against the squall. As we navigate the frostbitten frontiers of finance, Avalanche is our Sherpa, sculpting the slopes of success and steering us through the whiteout of the web to the peak of pixelated prosperity. So here's a hailstorm of hoorays for Avalanche, for not just breaking the ice, but for bulldozing through the blizzards of blockchain barriers and being the guiding light of Gamified. Big thank you, guys. I still get chills every time I get to say that. Huge thanks to Avalanche.
And he doesn't stutter on that intro, funny enough, only on the rest of ours.
Yeah,
Yo, I know where my bread is buttered, and it's not hiking up Fresco, okay? That's all I'm going to say.
Another fat joke, dude. He has to throw in carbs.
All right, guys, we're jumping into it. Thank God. We finally made it. Quick fire, true or false? We are so back, okay? Fear and Greed is up 70 to 70. Markets are pumping, alts are pumping, games are pumping. So true or false, we are so back. And real quick, I got to shout out Blake in the Wolves Down posted last night the first comment in Discord that has made me laugh to the point of crying for the first time in a while. Blake said he was finally able to unhide the tokens in his portfolio because it no longer made him depressed to look at. So a reminder on Quickfire, everybody put your hands up. I want to go around and get 5-second answers from everyone. And then once we've gotten your 5-second answers, we can go back, and if you want to elaborate for 30 or 60 seconds on your answer, we can do that. So everybody on the panel, get your hands up. I'm going to start with my man Lems, kicking it off to you. 5 seconds. Are we back or not?
We're so back. False.
All right, short and sweet. Paul, you unmuted. I'm sending it to you next.
Oh my gosh, why me next? I mean, I already told y'all we're back. We added 100,000 people to our Discord or whatever. So Wildcard's definitely back. I can't really
Paul's
speak
back,
to.
but
Yeah,
everybody
I
remains
hope
to be seen.
everybody's back though. I'm optimistic.
All right, Koji from Parallel, are we back or not?
We're not back until the wild card token is announced. That's my stance on
Oh
it.
my gosh, we're starting there. Come on, y'all.
Tony from Shrapnel, are we back?
Oh, we're fucking back, dude. It feels like we're back harder than ever. Everything's
Speaking
going
of
great.
tokens,
I mean, Koji's not even wearing a fucking shirt. We're so back, guys.
Coco from Army of Fortune, are we back?
We are so back. I mean, I can tell we're back because I haven't slept for days.
That is a great indicator. Icy, are we back, my man?
Sam, I said we were back on like a Rumble show a week or two ago. You're like, are we there? Listen, guys, a gaming project just hit me up and offered me a whitelist spot. We are back. Koji's not wearing a shirt, but I'm on stream right now rocking my Avalanche shirt. We are freaking back, baby.
We are so back. All right, Kate, are we back? The woman who has more data on the market probably than all of us combined. Are we back? Tell us. Not financial advice.
Not yet. Sorry, guys.
Brutal. Okay, Fresco, are we back, my man?
This whole panel is back on drugs. We're not back.
Back off the wagon. Okay, Kun from Forge, are we back, my man?
We're definitely seeing excitement in the air. I think we're back, and we're gonna need it.
We are going to need it. Sinjin, the Titan of Taboo, what say you?
We are December 2021 back.
Woo, that's pretty back. That's pretty back. All right. We're moving on unless anybody gets a hand up in the next 5 seconds. Lems also grab some comments. 73 already. People are stoked to get those Overworld and Army of Fortune whitelists. Appreciate everybody dropping those comments. Up next, we're doing a new game mode called Win Roblox NFTs. Okay, shout out to Eliza who posted a news clip of them talking about NFTs in Roblox. More specifically, he was kind of talking about how in the future he could potentially see Roblox assets kind of being removed from Roblox, put on the blockchain, traded externally, and then put back into Roblox. My question for the panel isn't about whether or not this is bullish. We all know if Roblox did NFTs, that would be immensely bullish. But it's about what are the odds that this will actually happen. We had a great story a little while ago about like Xbox mentioned wallets in part of their projections, and there was some really great talk around how basically these companies assume they're going to do everything and then they nix a bunch of stuff when it gets closer. So my first question is, will it actually happen? But more importantly, what is the time horizon for it to happen, aka when Roblox NFTs? Is this a 1-year thing, a 5-year thing, a 10-year thing? How long until we actually see an integration like this? And since there's no hands up, I'm going to send it over to Wild Paul to make us answer first.
nah, no, don't pick on me. Don't pick on me. Somebody else.
All right, Sinjin got it out. Over to you, Sinjin.
I think it's a 5-year thing. The reason why is because Roblox's main player base still is quite young, right? So once they launch the NFTs, I mean they're going to do it in a very responsible way to take care of their player base. So I give it another 5 years, 3 to 5.
Okay. You know what? I can't help it. I'm gonna jump in here. I've been fascinated. I'm with Sinjin actually. I've been fascinated by Roblox now for years. I can't believe there aren't more legit competitors to Roblox. And so we've actually spent, not to talk to top secret projects, but we've actually spent a lot of time paying attention to and learning about the Roblox ecosystem. Let me first say the Roblox audience is the most loyal creator and player community audience I have ever encountered. They are never going anywhere. I don't care if you make the most ultimate Roblox competitor, those people are not leaving. They have grown up in that community. That is their lifelong friends. Like, good luck getting any of those users. But on the point of like the NFTs and Roblox, uh, Roblox's primary competitive advantage is the fact that they have spent years, like literally decades at this point, learning how to and creating the regulation framework to pay users out in various places around the world. That's actually the hardest thing to compete with as a potential Roblox competitor. It's not super hard to build the technology, the platform, etc., but it's super hard to have this ability to pay out users anywhere in fiat currency. I think crypto is potentially an end run around that advantage. But the question is, like, would Roblox get there first when they've already created that advantage? I don't know. I kind of feel like they're just gonna kind of sit back and do what they can already do, which is pay out users in fiat and happily kind of live in that world until they're forced out of it.
Real quick, I gotta say, I just navigated to the profile so that I could see some of the comments and give people shout outs. And currently there's 2 spaces links that are both live with different comments, retweets, and likes. So that my assumption based on that is Twitter is broken as shit. And just real quick, shout out again to the 200 people that are finding their way here. Anyway, Kate Irwin, over to you. When can we expect NFTs in Roblox?
Not for a while. My prediction, so I've been in touch with like Roblox on the comm side for years, through like other stuff and work in the past, and they've sort of said to me multiple times, like, crypto is not really a thing that we're doing. So I don't think their stance has changed. However, maybe they could do something with a brand partner. Like, I think if they had like a really big brand partner, like a Gucci coming in and saying, hey, we want to do this and we want them to be NFTs. Like, I think if they had a big brand pushing them in the blockchain direction, especially in the fashion space, that they would be more likely to consider it. But I think because Roblox's user base is mostly like people under 18, or at least a very large portion of their user base is people under 18. I don't know. I think things get really complicated when you have to start issuing tax statements for kids getting crypto and kids getting KYC'd and all that stuff. Just like throws a huge set of complications into the Roblox situation. So I don't know that it's going to happen soon. I think it's going to be like, if they did, it would be for like adults only, and it would be like very limited. And they already have this thing called the limiteds, ironically enough, which is not blockchain, but it basically has all the features of an NFT, but without being an NFT. So it's not on the blockchain, but it's scarce, limited fashion items that give creators royalties. So they are sort of taking the good parts of NFTs already. They just haven't added the blockchain. And I don't know that they're going to be honest.
Interesting stuff. Kuhn from Forge, over to you, my man.
I'm going to be spicy and I'm going to say 10 years or never. I think if you look at the interview, which is worth watching in its entirety on CNBC, it was really a broad interview right after the Roblox earnings announcement. And they've just been crushing it. They've been growing internationally. The audience is getting older. They're getting operating leverage, which is great for investors. And it was pretty clear on the call, their primary goal is to grow from 200 million people where they are now monthly to 1 billion people. Like, they want to go beyond play. They want to make Roblox experience work for everyone, for the workplace, for learning, for everything. And so I think that's going to be their primary focus, expanding it to everyone. And if you look at the context in which they were talking about NFTs, it was really, it was quoted as, a bit of a dream of NFTs moving platform to platform. And it seemed like they would only be thinking about it in the context of if an Elton John wanted to do like 8 items, or a Nike wants to come along, right? So to Kate's point, I think it's going to be in a very controlled way. But if you think about brands and being brand driven and control driven, that's not necessarily, on chain, and on chain gives you all the flexibilities that isn't there with with the control. So I think a lot needs to be worked out before Roblox wholeheartedly adopts NFTs.
Thanks, Kuhn. Appreciate the spicy takes. Coco from Army of Fortune, over to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll take a slightly spicy take on the other end. I could see a world in which they actually bring NFTs sooner. It really depends on the level of pressure that the wider market, because obviously as a big company, they'll have a lot of red tape and don't want to mess things up for an already great business. But if there's other businesses and games, and if gaming really takes off, for example, in our space, they'll find that they may be missing an opportunity that they could, leaving money on the table. Then they might be pressured into like really coming up with something sooner than say the 5-year time horizon. And then you've got to think about, well, how are NFTs evolving in terms of the tech? Like, is there ways in which like some of the regulatory worries can be mitigated, or the security issues can be mitigated through say NFTs? They may be NFTs on the back end, but there's limitations around like withdrawals and things like that. Not a full NFT by the way that we understand it, but definitely something where they could be like, hey, we're doing NFTs to keep up with the cool kids.
Appreciate the contrast between those two takes. Tony from Shrapnel.
I think that the market is going to demand that they move to some sort of ownership model sooner rather than later. I think 5 years is within the sooner realm for me. But my take on Roblox is that those folks have been on the bleeding edge of the creator economy since before it was cool to be on the bleeding edge of the creator economy. I think I've said that before. And so I think it's sooner rather than later because I think they're going to adapt and they're going to make it.
Well said. Fresco tagging you next.
Yeah, I think we're looking at, a 3 to 5 year horizon. And I think they're going to adopt NFTs in a way that none of us are really thinking about. And I don't think it's going to be very direct. And I think anybody who's building like UGC tooling is going to adopt in the same way. And there's several steps that need to happen. But I think, if you're somebody who's building, like, I think Roblox will like be totally comfortable with people who are building on top of like Roblox engines or, Epic with Fortnite, allowing those people to implement NFTs and blockchain in some of those experiences. But I think, Roblox is kind of going to wait for, this first cohort of games to prove out the concept and then slowly, allow some games that they're working with and partnered with to start, and then they'll see like, okay, now how are our people, because it gives them an out of being able to say like, well, hey, that's just a partner, they're just building on top of our engine, right? So it gives them a little bit of a cushion. And then I think, should those two things happen, you'll see that big adoption of bigger companies. The other thing that's always like interesting about Roblox is like they're not that profitable. Like they do well at a lot of things, but like making money so far hasn't been one of them. And I think if and they're hitting a time where they need to start becoming more profitable, right? So if there's a lane that way, I think you'll see that accelerate a little bit.
All right, real quick, I want to give a shout out to BoBuild.eth. He says, bro, all the intros were nuts. Loved the from half pipes to hash rates, which was my intro for Icy. The intros get me busting. He says, also, Mr. Gon's PFP, what the fuck? Which we are all saying, Koji, you must have lost a bet or something. I'm sure we'll get the story out of you eventually. But I'm going to hook up BoBuild with the Overworld NFT #1. We still got 4 more to give away, and we got 5 more Army of Fortunes to give away. Lems, I'm going to tag you in for your opinion and also potentially another giveaway.
I got no strong opinion on Roblox. Everyone covered that stuff. I'm just going to the comments. Just want to shout out Mr. House, who's a regular seeing here almost every week, saying Fresco had the best intro. Solid opening remarks from him as well. I don't know if he means stuttering Sam or if he actually means his takes on the We're So Back, but we're going to hook you up with an Army of Fortune whitelist. And then also wanted to shout out to Maria, who's here almost every single week as well and dropping great alpha in Wolves DAO. She goes, never. Roblox have already been under fire due to underage real money gaming, and I can't see them being a US company with significant underage audience having blockchain integration. So great point from Maria as well. We're also going to hook you up with an Army of Fortune whitelist.
Let's go, dude. Maria is such a goat. She actually just did a private class, like a seminar for us on UI, UX design in the Wolves DAO. Huge shout out for that. And one of the things that's my long-term vision, if I can just wax poetic for like 30 seconds here, for Gamified, is we connect so deeply in Wolves DAO. It's such an amazing place to meet like-minded people. And that's what I want for the comments of this show to become. So frequently, there are people like Maria and Nicholas, and even Paul goes down there, Sinjin goes down there and drops more alpha than we can fit on this show because there are so many amazing takes. And what I want is for instead of everybody to always be dropping individual comments, for people to have entire conversations where one person comments and there's a back and forth dialogue going really deep on these subjects that we're discussing. I'm not expecting it to happen overnight, but one day my dream is that I'll be at a conference and people will be like, bro, I was hanging out in the audience and me and this guy just started chatting about, win Roblox NFTs, and then we decided to DM each other. Turns out we lived in the same state, or we decided to meet up at the conference, and now we're best friends, or that's how I got into the Wolves DAO, something like that. I woke up in the middle of the night the other day, and it just hit me that would be something that would just mean the world to me. So that's
Look, man, look, Words with Friends has led to multiple marriages. It actually led to somebody saving somebody's life. So I just want you to know the dream can come true. Those two bros you just talked about, they're going to get married someday, and they're gonna put you on their wedding invite list.
That's awesome, man.
On that note, I wanted to shout out Filch. Filch was someone who stumbled on Gamified from Peyton's channel, ended up coming to the Twitter Spaces. He won like a 3xp ticket, ended up meeting everyone at 3xp, and he's like just join the Wolves as well. He's been dropping amazing gifts in the comments as well. He's been doing custom gifts for people who are on the panel here today. Like, I just think that's the epitome of what we want to produce here on Gamified. So a big shout out to Filch.
Can I say that Filch had a room full of like 20 grown men crying, laughing at 3XP, and this was like by hands down one of the highlights of that whole trip.
It really was, dude. Huge shout out. Icy, I saw the hand go up too, man.
No, I just wanted to say, I know I got dunked on all over the timeline for like dying to Orangey, but I like started getting kills after listening to Gamified Twitter Spaces from Sam Stefanina. I have 3 verified kills on Orangey. I want that to be known. Fake news on the timeline.
Fake news indeed, man. The redemption arc from Icy starts today. Don't let anybody slander this man after today. But anyway, without me tearing up and waxing poetic for too long, we're going to move on. Ubisoft, I still don't know how to pronounce it. I've been talking about them for 20 years. They announced a partnership with Immutable X. My question for the panel, is this a big deal, little deal, or no deal? We don't have a ton of details on this partnership yet, but previously Ubisoft added quartz digits in Ghost Recon Breakthrough, and they were an absolute disaster. Hated by both Web 2 and Web 3 gamers, unfortunately. IMX has also partnered with GameStop that was once believed to be a huge deal. I was super bullish on it, but it feels like a smaller and smaller deal every day that we kind of get removed from it and we don't see more big news. So I asked the panel, is this partnership with Ubisoft a big deal, a little deal, or a no deal? Koji, I think I saw your hand go up first. Over to you, brother.
I think it's a big deal, mainly because you would think that at this point, any traditional game company sort of getting into the space isn't going to touch it with a 10-foot pole because of the vitriol that seems to come from gamers, and the fact that they're willing to dip their toes back into the water after having, the sort of snafu that you mentioned earlier. Leads me to believe that like there's still appetite there from a lot of we'll say traditional gaming companies to break in and use the tech, and I think that like if nothing else, it's just positive reinforcement that the people who are building the stuff are still interested in the world that we inhabit and what we're trying to do.
Well said, Lems. I think your hand got up next.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to know is just a bunch more details. It felt like they announced it and then there was no real follow through. It was just like, hey, we're doing this partnership, but what does it mean? So for me, I kind of feel like it's a little deal until we know more about it. Like GameStop was a thing that I feel like everyone talked about for a while, where they were just partnering with all sorts of people and like, oh, GameStop are coming in. It's going to be the future of NFTs because it's going to be everywhere in all these mainstream retail stores. So I just want to know, like, are they building a game? Are they going to be like leveraging NFTs onto games they already have and just kind of adding it as DLC or something? So yeah, I'm just kind of in little deal until we can see what the integration actually is.
Dude, speaking of Phil, I just retweeted like 4 of the different gifts that he's made. These are incredible. There's one for Wild Ball. There's one for Jerry the Golden God. There's one for the Little Lizard Legend Lems. Anyway, again, without getting too distracted, Shrapnel, Tony, tagging you in, man. Ubisoft and IMX partnership, is this a big deal?
God damn it, Koji! It's a big deal, and for the same reasons that Koji said. But like I keep going back to it. It feels inevitable. Like just what I said with Roblox. I think that they're going to recognize that it's important and that it's necessary, and they're going to keep going back and running themselves through the meat grinder until they figure it out, because they recognize that it's absolutely the future and going to happen, and so they're going to keep running at the wall.
Kate from Decrypt, I'm sure you broke a news story or 3 about this. Tagging you in next.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal, even though their PR people won't tell me whether it's a game or not. I think it's a game. That's my suspicion. They were just super, super careful about the language that they're using. So there is a chance that it could be kind of like something like what Square Enix is doing, where it's like it's kind of a game, but it's not like the game that we wanted. So we'll see. I think it's a big deal. I think the fact that Ubisoft has continuously continued to just keep going in crypto with like their Rabbids stuff, their Reddit avatars, like for the Rabbids, like, and then doing obviously the Dead Tom Clancy game experiment. That was interesting. So they're really experimenting and they're really trying. And I think one of these shots that they take on the goal is probably going to be successful. So, maybe it could be this one. Who knows?
I got to appreciate at least that experimentation. I appreciate that you highlight that. Icy, over to you, man.
Yeah, I agree with the panel. I think on the surface, it's a big deal. It continues to show their real interest in the Web3 space, and it's moves like this that pave the way for success and other players to follow suit. I will steal a phrase from Knock. Like I'm cautiously optimistic because a lot of times we don't really see these partnerships bear that kind of fruit. So it does remain to be seen. But I love that we're getting like positive, validating news like this in the space, especially kind of like in bearish markets, right? I mean, we're coming out of it, but like they didn't need to say that or announce this at this time. So it shows that they've got like real interest in the space. Hopefully, it goes somewhere.
Hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed along with you. Kun, big deal, little deal, no deal, this Ubisoft partnership with Immutable.
I think time will tell. I think optically, it's a huge deal because they're choosing to double down, like everyone said, in a time where maybe it's not necessarily opportune. I do think looking at it from the corporate PR lens, there's a little bit of hedging in that press release. So it was, the partnership is actually through the Ubisoft Strategic Innovation Labs and not Ubisoft in and of itself. But I know both parties there. They're great folks. Would love to see something amazing come out of this. I think the Web3 space, in my experience, has a tendency to have over expectation. Like if it was a Web2 game and they just dropped the trailer, like everyone will be clapping and they'll wait 2 years for the game to drop. If it was Web3 game and there's a trailer drop, the next day everyone's asking when's token, when's the game going to ship, right? So I think what I'd love to see is given the proper time to build the right game using the immutable blockchain, and then in 2 or 3 years, hopefully we won't even hear about it. We'll just see a great game that comes out where the games would allow players to magically take their items on chain and self custody if they chose to.
Well said. Coco, tagging you in.
Yeah, I just want to build on actually what a lot of people on the panel have said. It's like, they keep taking runs at this, and we've got to like applaud how like they just keep on trying, because I think somebody in that team knows that like if they get it right and they can find the way, not only will it be like give them such they'll be ahead of their time versus their peers, but also it's that thing about like just finding the use case or the winning strategy with NFTs and blockchain for like a bigger company, and then just putting that like extra pressure, driving that tipping point moment where like suddenly every other company in the industry is like, oh my god, I'm way behind.
Well said. Fresco, over to you, my man.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest bear of all time, but I'm not super excited about it because it's Ubisoft, right? And I love what IMX is doing. Think like over the many months I've shown I'm a very big IMX fan, and I believe in like the long term vision that they have. But when I take a step back and look at like of all the people that could go into Web3, do we want it to be Ubisoft? Like, do we want it to be the company that's known for like aggressive monetization and launching games with like terrible controls, like off rip? And games that feel incomplete. And Ubisoft doesn't have like the best the best reputation amongst just people who play video games. And when you have a Web3 game that's been kind of crafted by Ubisoft, and if it goes the Ubisoft way, what are people going to think about the rest of us? And I think there's a huge potential here to kind of hurt the more reputable projects that are in the space. So I get really nervous that it's Ubisoft. I wish it was like anybody else. And I like some Ubisoft games, right? But I just don't know that that's who I would want to hitch my wagon to, because they're like somebody hilariously put it once to me that they're like the Wish version of EA, and people don't like EA, right? And so if you're if you're the Wish version of that, that's pretty rough.
Oh, shots fired.
Sorry to any EA alumni out there. I love EA.
Wait, that was an insult to Ubisoft, not to EA.
Well, I mean, people did, it's people don't think highly of EA either, except me. I do, shout out EA.
Sinjin, the Titan of Taboo. I don't know if you can say something more insulting to Ubisoft than that, but tagging you in.
Yeah, I'll say little deal because, like Kate said, and I think a lot of other people said, like, they're taking their shots on goal, but to me, it seems like they don't know what the fuck they're doing in the space anyway. So I'm holding my breath to see if anything actually comes out of anything they're trying to do.
Lambs, over to you, my man.
I had nothing more on this topic. I just wanted to shout out this amazing comment from Insightful going, Sam Stefanina, the amazing, astute alliteration of the intros is astronomically alluring. And that was so good that I think it deserves a whitelist spot. So I'll get you a whitelist for Overworld.
Hell yeah.
Let's
Congrats.
go.
Insightful. Appreciate that, Kate. Ever the hype woman. Appreciate you. Icy got the hand up. I'll give you the last word before we move on.
Yeah, I just want any Ubisoft employees to know if they ever listen to this space that they can get 35% off on shrapnel.com using Fresco is weak.
Yo, dude, I'm just gonna say that there's statistics on how claimed that was, and that shows power, man.
Okay, I have some news. This is from an unnamed source. Okay, I'm not allowed to tell anybody who this came from, but they texted me about 5 minutes ago and they said this is Ubisoft's tiniest side incubator thing made for random indies to work with Ubisoft, and IMX is trying to make a big deal out of it. I'm not saying this is not a Ubisoft employee. This is not anybody that works at IMX. I don't know if this is legitimate, but it is somebody that's fairly well connected, and that's what I'm hearing. Okay, so make of that what you will. Grain of salt, not financial advice. Whatever other disclaimers I need to put along with that. But shout out to people texting me alpha in the middle of the show. Appreciate you. Up next, we're moving on to expectations versus reality. This question, this segment, this game mode is about Grand Theft Auto 6. Okay, so we saw the announcement of the announcement, which, like, what the fuck is this Web3 all of a sudden that Grand Theft Auto is announcing announcements? But with the likelihood of success, what is the likelihood of success whenever it comes to Grand Theft Auto 6? Is it even possible to meet the
Are you even asking that question?
Yo, son.
Come on, man.
I'm asking this question, man.
Okay, go ahead.
Supposedly they're going to charge $150. People think there's going to be Web3 involved. They're spending 10 years of development on it, $600 million. If you're a game dev, how do you even approach making something with this much hype? It was the greatest online game of all time, the most grossing online game of all time. If you're making the sequel to this thing, what the hell is the likelihood that you could possibly meet these expectations? And I will send it over to Paul Bettner to absolutely freaking roast me.
Okay, look. We've talked about this before, okay? I know it may seem to all of us nerds on this show that gaming has reached its absolute peak and that gaming can't possibly be growing anymore or whatever, but we are still in a massive growth phase of time for gaming. I think the easiest way to think about this is if you were to go up to somebody on the street and say, "Are you a moviegoer?" That would be a ridiculous question. Like, people don't ask each other those questions. They just always assume all of us watch movies. It's like a thing, right? And yet, still, we categorize ourselves as gamers or not gamers because that's where we actually are in the cycle. So, reality of it is, gaming is still growing astronomically. With that reality in place, the biggest franchises are only going to just keep getting bigger. Now, of course, it's their ball to drop, right? Like, if they somehow make a game that's not as good as GTA's that have come before, then that would be a massive disaster. But it doesn't seem like they're doing that. It seems like they're taking their time and they are definitely investing their money because they know that. They know that with the brand recognition that Grand Theft Auto has, all they have to, quote unquote, all they have to do is make a game at least as good as GTA 5, possibly a little bit better, and it will be the biggest game of all time.
So my question for you, Paul, before I move on, is give me a percentage. If you had to say the percentage likelihood that you think it blows us away and wins Game of the Year, 10 out of 10, everybody's happy with it. What do you
That's
think
a
it is?
great question, Sam. I would have actually put that percentage lower if you'd asked me, I don't even know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. It used to be that you would see these giant companies, Halo, fumble the ball on their most massive franchises, right? And you're just like, how do you mess this up, guys? Like, come on. And of course, those companies, a lot of them have figured out how to repair the damage and just kind of pick that up, dust it off, and keep going. But these days, I think the recognition of how much is at stake with these enormous gaming franchises just have true worldwide, like multi-billion user saturation. It's like they're just not gonna take the chance. They're not gonna mess it up. They will not release the game until it's ready, which is why I think we've gone this long without any kind of actual announcements, any kind of release date. To me, that's a signifier that they're taking that same strategy, that same play out of the playbook and saying, look, if we get this right, it's literally worth $10 billion. So it doesn't really matter how much we spend, and it doesn't matter how long we take. We have to get it right. And so the fact that they're kind of they've already sent those signals out, to me suggests that it's like 100% likelihood or 90% likelihood that they don't fumble the ball in this one.
Wow, Wild Paul has complete confidence, and somebody in the audience that tells me the percentage likelihood that they think Grand Theft Auto exceeds expectations is going to win a whitelist. Fresco, over to you, my man. I saw you hit Paul with the thumbs down.
Oh, that was about movies because of I don't really like movies that much. And one time Sam asked me to
What
go watch
the fuck?
Oppenheimer. Sam asked me to go watch
What a
Oppenheimer
freak,
once, and
eh?
I didn't know how to say no, and so I just kept not answering the question. Yeah, I have ADD, man. There is a like 98% to 100%. I mean, it's basically 100%, right? That GTA 6 is going to be the biggest game ever. I mean, like GTA 5 is still growing, you know, like
Yeah,
there's
it's
more
so
people.
crazy.
Yeah, there's more people that are playing it now than when it first came out, right? And there is probably going to be a crazy price point attached to it. There's a lot of people I think who are in the games industry who think that like games are just too expensive to make and they're sold too
So,
cheap right
on
now.
that point, real quick, because I think that's another fascinating thing that was kind of buried in the lead a little bit. They will. I don't think that you should look at it necessarily as like they're going to charge $200 for the game or whatever, but they will definitely make it so that you can easily spend thousands of dollars in the GTA universe, and their ARPU, which is their average revenue per user, is probably going to be totally off the charts. I mean, they just have this incredible formula where like they have a game where you literally do want to spend virtual money on virtual sports cars and all the other things that come along with the thug life. So
Yeah.
they end up having an insanely high ARPU, and especially in their online part. So I don't think that that'll be like, again, that won't be them charging $150 for the game, but they will definitely find a way for you to spend thousands of dollars as just a casual user, Ethan.
I think this is definitely the moment that happens every cycle, though, where they're going to set a new norm for game prices now, right? It's been kind of steady at like the $60 to $70 range for a long time, and it's funny with like how much more expensive a lot of things are. Games haven't really done that. And I think there hasn't really been. I mean, you know, there's like Breath of the Wild, there's Baldur's Gate, there's games that like could have shot their shot at that, but I think there's no way that Rockstar doesn't. And one of the things that I want to just point out is like we look at 2023 as like this golden year for gaming. I think like there's so many great games that came out this year. A lot of that goes back to how many like of these games were supposed to come out 2 years ago that got delayed and they had time to be perfected. I think Rockstar has taken so much time to polish this, and because this is a pivotal like life changing moment for everybody who's touched the project. This is going to be the next wave of people. This is going to be like the Riots and the Blizzard employees that start up their own studios. They're all going to be coming spin off from Rockstar in 5 or 10 years, and I think there's no way that GTA 6 isn't one of the. It's going to be a game that we look back on in 40 to 50 years as a huge moment.
Chelsea, also from Wildcard in the comments, says over 9,000% chance. She says the virality of Grand Theft Auto plus the macro climate of the world. It's the biggest game of all time, without a doubt. Kuhn from Forge tagging you in, man.
Chelsea, thanks for the over 9,000 anime reference. I dig it.
Saw that first time on Crunchyroll, by the way.
Nice. Yeah, look, I think the important thing, and I'm sure Rockstar is very cognizant of this, is that it's one thing to ship the game, and there's a very high bar nowadays. It's another thing to make sure that the game grows after you ship it with vibe ops. And we've definitely seen cases where maybe the ship was great, and then there's a fumble, and then the attention just drops off. And I think there's now more of a hurdle than ever to make sure that you keep your audience engaged over a long period of time after the game ships. So live ops has to be a huge part of these billion-dollar franchise games as they're launching, and I think that's going to be what's really going to differentiate the goods from the greats.
Well said. Koji, over you, man.
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute here. I mean, to go back to the movie analogy, I think that like we see as like entertainment grows, the budgets grow. I don't think it's like I think this is just sort of a natural progression, honestly. And there's a bunch of people who have who have built entire online identities playing, like role playing servers with the previous games, and like the other panelists have mentioned, spent thousands of dollars on sports cars and stuff. Like it's one of those spaceship games that everybody's obsessed with. But like, there's no doubt in my mind that they'll be able to make it back and then some. Someone said, oh, the price of games has always been $80. The amount of people who are gonna spring for the like whatever $200 version of this game that comes with a bust of the main character and a bunch of useless shit you don't need is going to be astronomical. Like I personally think it's going to make the pre-sale of whatever that Cyberpunk game was look silly. Like the amount of people that are obsessed with, I mean, who doesn't like to kill innocent bystanders and engage it with sex workers? Like
Yeah.
we're
Take it from the guy who's got tats all over his chest.
that's it. I'm getting ready. I'm living my GTA life right now, but I think this game's gonna do insane numbers. Insane numbers.
All right, we're getting close to wrapping this one up, but I can't finish the topic without first sending it to the Titan of Taboo.
Oh, this is gonna so fucking crush. I mean, you talk about Roblox and the how hardcore and diehard those fans are. I mean, GTA is just on another fucking level. I mean, like the DNA that they have and the fact that they can do whatever the fuck they want to do, and their content. And I guarantee, like every single kid who is like 8, 10 years old right now, they're like asking their parents for permission to get into this game, and then 4 or 5 years later, when they're old enough or they manage to get the money together, they're gonna fucking get into this game. My son, who is like 14, has been asking to play GTA for like the last 5 years, and I'm like, no, not yet, son. But all these guys are gonna get into it. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, GTA is the closest thing that we have to like movie level type of content where like it goes across all demographics, people that you wouldn't think that play video games like fucking they only play GTA. So this is gonna fucking crush.
All right, and last but never least, my man, the little lizard legend, it's Levs.
I'm gonna say be slightly contrarian here. I think this is gonna be a massive success when it comes out, but expectations versus reality, like as people, we have this thing of like having these crazy expectations, and I think the panel just showed here. Everyone's like, "This is gonna be the best game ever," and I think when it launches, people are gonna find things to nitpick and complain about how it doesn't have X or Y because we'd love to just find things that are not there. Like Counter Strike's a much smaller game compared to GTA, but like in comparison, there was a similar thing. Like everyone's like, "Oh my God, CS2 is coming out," and now it's kind of like, eh. A lot of people who are playing it are like, "Eh, I'll come back in 6 months when it's like polished and nice." So I kind of worry that because the expectations are so high, that people will be a bit disappointed on the actual launch. But I think overall it will still be a massive success, and it'll probably do a lot better than GTA 5 did.
Nostro.f also mentions, he says a whole generation of Fortnite, Roblox, and Minecraft kids are about to have their minds blown, which I think is awesome. Wild Paul, your hand goes up. I'll give you the last word on this before we move on.
Thanks. I just didn't want to lose the other thread that you kind of ejected in there, which is like, well, okay, so we all agreeing that GTA, the next Grand Theft Auto, is going to be the biggest game of all time. But you also asked about NFTs. I think, I mean, I would honestly be sort of shocked if they took that risk and introduced that technology into that absolute signature game. I mean, honestly, even from a gamer's perspective, I think a lot of what we kind of feel about NFTs and in a normal way of thinking about NFTs in the game is like, well, they're cool because they let me have value that can exist outside of that game and possibly survive even after the game is, peaked in popularity. I just don't think that that's necessary for Grand Theft Auto. I think when you have your sports car in Grand Theft Auto, you're just kind of happy to have it be in Grand Theft Auto. Like you don't need it to be an NFT. Like so I mean, maybe they have in-game trading and stuff, but I just don't think that they're going to necessarily need to use a blockchain to achieve that with the scale that they're already going to reach.
And we could have had Rockstar and we got Ubisoft, dude. That's like the expectations versus reality gift. Filch, make it a gift, dude.
Yeah.
Making a gift, Filch. Tony, I saw your hand go up briefly. What's up, man? All right, Tony misclicked inevitably. 250 people listening right now. I just want to take a second and give you guys a huge thank you and shout out. Again, we got completely rugged at the beginning of this space, completely bugged out, and 200 people that had set reminders unfortunately did not get them. So the fact that we still hit 250 concurrent listeners absolutely insane. Lems, while I do the ad read, please give these people some whitelist. They deserve it. And Tony from Shrapnel, oh, he had to drop. Sounds like he wasn't able to speak. I'm going to get him to give you some extra extraction packs too, because I appreciate everybody that's here so much. And now, warriors of the web, as we hit pause on our pixelated showdowns, let's fire off a salute to the one and only Shrapnel, the official game of Gamified. Every round fired, tactic deployed, and battle waged in Shrapnel is engineered for peak pulse-pounding excitement. So brace yourselves for an exclusive blitz. Storm to shrapnel.com, enlist with your gamer call sign, and who knows, you might just commandeer a cache of coveted combat commodities with an extraction pack. And don't just camp in the chat. Frag us in the comments with a shout out to your favorite panelists or the hot button topics that we're blasting through today, and you could be the lucky gunner to grab the loot. And of course, amid the icy expanses of the blockchain winter, where many falter, frozen by the frigid frontiers of finance, Avalanche emerges as the titan of the tundra. This behemoth braves biting blizzards, cleaving through the cold of uncertainty, charting a course toward clarity. Let's lift our spirits for the guardian of glaciers. Here's to Avalanche, our sentinel in the snowstorm, the hearth in the hailstorm, and the official blockchain of Gamified. Thank you so much to those two amazing sponsors. And I also got to shout out Knock, who unfortunately wasn't able to make it to this episode today. But you know he's still going to be writing newsletter number 3. The first 2 were absolute bangers, and I would love to be able to give some rewards to people that are signing up for those newsletters, including, I know Tony is giving extraction packs to everybody that signs up for the Gamified newsletter. Of course, he's given us Fresco is Weak for 35% off extraction packs. You can also use, I think, what is it? Sam is the best for like 30%, but don't worry about that. Use Fresco is Weak. And of course, I also want to tag in Icy, who's going to tell us a little bit about the Gamer League and what they have going on there. We're not sponsored by the Gamer League, but I'm so excited about what they're doing. So I just want to make sure that they get some time in the shine, because they're trying to onboard the next million gamers to Web3, baby.
Oh man, I was not expecting that. One, I have to say, like, Paul, Sinjin, Tony, Koji, Lens, I'm like freaking out being up here with you guys. I admire you guys so much. This is like a dream come true.
We are
Sam.
so glad to have you, man. It's been too long.
I'm here too, by the way, buddy.
Fresco, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm nervous.
We're all here for
I'm
you,
nervous,
man.
guys. I appreciate you guys. But yeah, Game League is going on, put on by Owned. It's a super awesome activation. It's going to go on for a month straight. It's a free to enter tournament. We've had like over 80 game partners contribute all sorts of amazing digital assets, like the Shrapnel extraction packs, like the parallel cards that we're giving out to gamers for free. We're spending a bunch of money to advertise, trying to get traditional gamers to come on board, play their favorite games like Fortnite, Dota, CS2, and then also try out some of these incredible Web3 games like Parallel, like Metalcore, like Spider Tanks. You can claim your Game Pass. It's a free mint on Polygon with the click of a button. There's custodial wallets. You don't even have to connect your wallet. You can sign up with an email. It couldn't be easier. And you're going to get over $200 in value from those extraction packs and from those parallel cards. So, like, why not do it? Shout out to Luca Nets, like supporting, Pudgy Penguins and Walmart. Like, the more that they win, the more the entire space wins. We're trying to do something cool. It's for free. So I'd really love it. It'd mean the world to me if you guys claimed your Game Pass, maybe do a social quest or two, and have fun during Game League. Thank you so much.
Hell yeah, dude. And me and Fresco might be casting a little bit of Dota too. We'll see if that's in our future. I want to give we're going to give a overworld whitelist to AE. He's been killing it in the comments. And I also saw that he retweeted the space, which is how I first saw him. AE, huge shout out and thank you to everybody that's retweeting the space. Again, losing those 200 reminders that were set, it's all because of the like 50 people that have retweeted and the 150 comments that people are seeing this through discoverability. So I really appreciate it. And I want to reward you guys. AE, congrats on Overworld. That's incredibly hyped right now. Lem, I'm sending it over to you, my man.
I wanted to give a whitelist spot for Overworld out to McChillin. He's dropping great comments in there and also gave me an idea for another topic for another show. So big shout out to McChillin. He's always contributing in the comments.
Dude, McChillin is an absolute beast. Love having him. And I'm looking forward to it. McChillin, you got to tell me if you're going to be at Art Basel, because I might be able to see you there, brother. Up next, we're moving on with the show. Agree or disagree is the game mode here. Becker, says AVAX is the leading L1 for gaming. This thing was going absolutely viral. Alex Becker, of course, a lot of people's, love to hate kind of housewives of Miami sort of Web3 influencer. He said that Avalanche was the leading L1 for gaming. He also threw some love for Solana in there. He mentions the absolute avalanche of compelling games building on their own subnet, the narratives around it, and the technology making it one of, if not the only feasible L1 to build on for games because there are so many transactions. My question for the panel is, do you agree with the man who moves markets, Becker, that this is one of the only ways for L1s to support games? Coco, I send it over to you first.
Yeah, I thought since I'm rocking the Neo Tokyo PFP, I thought I'd speak, even though I am rocking it. I have to respectfully disagree. I don't think that it's not, but I think that we're too early in this business cycle, this kind of innovation to say that it is the number one. There's too much innovation in the space and tech being built and exciting projects to say that really.
Fair play. Lems, over to you, my man.
On the ETH side, like ETH L1 is just unrealistic for most games. But outside of that, I wish we had some Solana maxis here. Like, where's Easy Eats or someone like that who's gonna, pump and say like how much Solana is like a big gaming ecosystem. I'm not too deep in Solana, but I see some people really, going hard over there, and there's some like cool projects building on Solana. So I think, that could be a very viable L1 as well. I love Avalanche's subnet. I think it's like a really clever design with the subnets, but yeah, the jury's out on who's going to be the winner of it all.
Dub, tagging you in next, man. I'm sure you've played many games across many chains, my dude.
Yeah, the way I look at it, if anything, and I still think it's not the best way to look at it, is like it's more in gaming category. Like I look at Avalanche as being a home of AAA games, and I look at Solana as being a home of indie. And I know that doesn't fit everything in those chains for the games, but like a vast majority seems to be that way.
Yeah, interesting perspective there. Fresco, up to you, man.
Yeah, who's on the AVAX account? My answer might change depending on. No, I'm just kidding. I think I don't know. I think coming from a very like financial place when Becker kind of tweeted that out. And I think he's kind of a fool, and I think he talks out of his element a lot. I think he's obviously, I think that's part of what he does. But I mean, the more I listen and learn from people like Sinjin, the more I learn about like economies. You can design you have a lot of levers you can tweak, right? Sinjin's probably the guy to talk about that, not me. But I don't really know like what he meant by that tweet. I think it was just a financial thing. I think in 2 to 3 years time, I think that's all just kind of invisible. Do we care if it's on AVAX? Do we care if it's on IMX? You guys aren't going to care about it.
Well said. Wild Paul.
I agree that it's too early to tell, but I will say that from our perspective on Wildcard, I think we mentioned this a couple shows ago. Shit's getting real. We want to create this user experience where we are paying for the gas and the block space on behalf of our users, and that creates quite the conundrum if we're trying to create a protocol that has high usage, right? Like a lot of DAU, a lot of transactions, a lot of data. In our case, we're storing game results and activity engagement on the blockchain because that's what lets us build really cool smart contracts that power the competitive ecosystem for Wildcard. Anyway, that shit's expensive doing it on a big public computer. And so like when we were having these conversations a year ago, and it was more like hypothetical back then, like these chains were talking about building these solutions, but really it was just a bunch of marketing and not a lot of reality. Now, products like ours and other games are starting to hit meaningful DAU numbers where the tech really does start to matter, really starts to affect our bottom line. So thankfully, though, what I'm seeing is that a lot of that tech that was just kind of marketing speak a year ago is finally starting to arrive, and it's starting to heat up, starting to get more competitive. We were talking just last show about how AVAX is really trying to solve this problem for developers like us, and other chains are pushing hard too. And not just that, but like in open source ecosystems like Optimism and Arbitrum are trying to create these solutions that allow for us to be able to execute a transaction at a hundredth the cost of ETH, because it is completely true. We cannot do run a protocol at scale on ETH. We can have assets on ETH, which I think is a compelling path. But in terms of the protocol it needs to interact with those assets, it needs to run in a much cheaper block space and via some solution that's either an L1 bridge or an L2. So I'm glad those technologies are starting to show up. I think it won't be too early to tell, 6 or 9 months ago. This next kind of 6 or 9 months is when those victors are going to start to emerge, because products like Wildcard and Shrapnel and others are going to really just start utilizing them at scale, because we have to, because the players are starting to show up.
Well said. And for those asking where they can find the Gamified newsletter, it is one of the pinned tweets all the way over to the right. And I got to give a shout out to Phil. He says really liked Dubs. Dubs is part of his perspective on the chain. So the redemption arc continues. Shrapnel, Tony, over to you.
Man, I gotta say it. The snowdrift is coming. The snowdrift is coming, gentlemen. But no, listen, Paul's saying all the right stuff. It's not trivial. The technology differences are real. Obviously, we know where Shrapnel landed on this side of the conversation. We're riding the snowdrift. I'm hanging with my boys Coop and Garrison. But I do think that as we have hundreds of thousands or millions of people playing games, the warts are going to quickly come out. And, I'm talking a lot of shit, but we haven't seen any Avalanche games with that kind of volume either. So, we'll see what happens as this rolls out. But I do know that we've placed our bets the way we've placed them because we strongly believe in the technology that we're building on. And I do think that Paul's right. If I do my job in the next 6 to 8 months, there's going to be, a couple 100,000 people playing Shrapnel, and we'll find out how this works.
Well said by Rami in the comments as well. He says, we'll have to wait for the full-blown bull run to see whether IMX, AVAX, Solana, or some other layer like Ronin or PYR will come out of nowhere to grab the attention of the games. We'll need games with a high number of players to really test the capabilities of them. Appreciate that by Remy. Can I give the man an extraction pack, Tony?
Give the man an extraction pack!
Give the man an extraction pack. You heard the man, Lems, giving him an extraction pack. Sinjin, the Titan of Taboo, sending it over to you.
Yeah, I think definitely Avalanche is one of the leading providers for sure. So I'm really bullish on Arbitrum. Anal OS, not so. I mean, if you're playing your game and the entire game shuts down because the network stops for whatever reason and they reset it, I don't know if that's really going to work out. But as someone who is building on ETH, I just got to say everyone comes back to Ethereum.
All right, Icy, what about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, I love what AVAX has done this year in the Web3 gaming space, and as a project as a whole. I was on using AVAX back in the DeFi days. So what they've done has been top notch, but ultimately I think it's going to be the games that drive the adoption. That's the use case. And while my absolute favorite game, Shrapnel, is on AVAX, I'm literally wearing an AVAX shirt right now. I put it on for my stream. I think that they'll be the game to break into the mainstream, but I do think it's too early to tell, and I can't count out all the other incredible games, builders, and chains in the space. I think ultimately we'll end up with a lot of games on a lot of chains, all sharing that market share, to be honest. And of course, the best tech will probably win, and the games will migrate to where it makes sense, like Paul is speaking to, and like Fresco kind of said. So yeah, and then ultimately, the chain will benefit from all that success. But I think the games are going to lead it, and Alex is probably maybe pumping his bag a little bit, and Fresco and I are probably going to get called dweebs.
You wouldn't be the first. Kun from Forge, what say you? Is AVAX the leading L1 for games?
Yeah, so I think the original take was probably more from a financial perspective. We're very much on the ground, so we're chain agnostic, and we work with a number of games and connect them with real gamers based on the gaming profile at Forge. But we've known the Avalanche team quite some time. I personally have known Ed since Crunchyroll days when he was in the media space, and they've signed on great games, amazing games, and those games are built by amazing teams that have come out of really well-recognized studios, and we're very much aligned in that aspect. We think that these are definitely going to be some of the best bets in gaming to help bring the next 10 million, 100 million gamers into the Web3 space. And so we love what they're doing. They work amazingly well with what we're doing, and a number of the game partners that they have on their platform are ones that we haven't announced yet, but we're going to be launching with as well. And so we're super excited to be working even more closely with them.
Fresco, tagging you in next.
Yeah, I want to just go back and just kind of like define like how a chain wins, right? And I think like AVAX won when Shrapnel said that they would build on AVAX, and Polygon won when Wildcard said that they would build on Polygon, right? That was the win for them, and I don't think we're gonna look back at like it. But in an alternate reality where Shrapnel's on Polygon and Wildcard's on Matic or on AVAX, excuse me, like Wildcard was still going to do well, and Shrapnel was still going to do well because they're smart people with great teams behind them. And so I don't really view the chains as like this whole thing where people have this like loyalty towards like AVAX or anything. It's always been silly to me because at the end of the day, you're going to play for Shrapnel. You're not going to play because it's on AVAX, right? And no offense to the intern that they made sit on this account for 2 hours, but I just see the win is going to come from the games. It's not going to come from the chain, because at the end of the day, these are all B2B companies that are not really going to they'll help be successful, but the success came from the minds that incubated Shrapnel, and the success came from people like Paul and Katie. So it's always just a little silly to me that we like look at like, is the chain going to win? They won 2 years ago, and Shrapnel said that they would say yes.
Little do you know, Fresco, it is Ed Chang behind the Avalanche account, ready to drop the hammer on you for your treason. Now, of course, we always appreciate people being absolutely transparent and honest with their takes on the show, regardless of who's sponsoring it. And that's why I love Avalanche and Shrapnel for being able to stand the heat whenever people have mixed reviews. But I think that that's an important space to be in for us. Tony from Shrapnel, over to you again, man.
Sorry, I fell asleep while Fresco was talking. Give me a second to just catch up. But Kuhn, I don't know. I hope I said your name correctly. I just looked at your account while you were talking because you were saying some really smart shit, and I realized that you were one of the founders of Crunchyroll, and I didn't have anything to add to this conversation other than thank you, because you like had a real impact on my life growing up. What a service you created.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
We actually
like
have
$600 back.
What Fresco?
I spent a lot of money on Crunchyroll. Kuhn, you're welcome.
We have a Crunchyroll adjacent topic later in the show that I'm excited to get to. Lems, tagging you in for the final word on this before we move on.
Yeah, I want to highlight a couple of great comments there. We had Etherway saying, arguing what chain is best for gaming is challenging. 95% of Web3 games don't push past providing NFTs. If we're talking about being able to provide deep blockchain integration, supply better UX and scale to ensure low-cost transactions and have top-notch security, it's too early to tell. Apps will reign supreme, not chains. Kind of echoes what Fresco was saying. And then also Zach D, who's Dragoon. You switched your name up to confuse me. Kind of reminds me of Blockbuster saying Netflix would never come. I think the best games will be built on their own tech and influenced by the other L1s around. So I will be hooking both of you guys up with an Army of Fortune whitelist. And I also wanted to give one to Filch because those GIFs are blowing up in the comments. Everyone loves those GIFs. And so there's the last Army of Fortune whitelist.
Let's go. Lems, remind me how many we have of Overworld whenever you have a sec. And real quick, I want to give a shout out to Lems because we gave away like 50 NFTs last week, a bunch of extraction packs, and he handled all of it. It is so many DMs. Many of you are incredibly polite, but there's always like 3 people that message like every 4 minutes being like, why is it not in my wallet yet? That's just the nature of, the human race. And so a huge shout out to handling all of that and for being willing to handle it again this week. Lems, the unsung hero of Gamified, huge shout out. Paul, I see the hand up. I'll send it over to you briefly before we move on.
Okay, just last on this topic, and this is a little bit of a self-serving, but I just, we've had a lot of people speaking about this from a developer's perspective, and I just wanted to give you my take on this. I think that it's, as I said earlier, shit's getting real, which means now's the opportunity for these chains, these B2B businesses, these service providers, technology providers, to do the right kinds of deals, to get the right kinds of products working with them. And what I think is the most crucial balance for a company like AVAX, Polygon, whoever it is we're talking about, is not just that they provide the killer technology. That's sort of table stakes. Like, of course you have to do that because we're building a product that relies on, on low gas, fast transactions, liquidity, all these things that people are looking for in Web3, and we're trying to build our product. So you have to do that. But there's this other sort of thing that happens at this phase, and we've all been through these cycles when new technology is taking off, when there's these partnerships can exist between the products, the games, the apps, and the technology providers, the B2B companies. You see that the winners don't just provide the right technology, but they provide deep support and relationship and funding and user acquisition help and all the things that come along with helping an ecosystem take off. And the fatal flaw that companies can make is when they fall too much in love with their own technology, honestly, and are like, well, we just have to build the tech and then the apps will show up. And realistically, from a builder's perspective, that's not how it works. Like that we are at this phase anyway in the market cycle, always looking for partners who can provide all aspects of that relationship, not just, hey, we built this great technology and you should just want to use it because it's great. And I see companies now sort of coming more to that realization. And of course, like we can all look at the great work that AVAX has been doing this year to build those relationships and kind of point their users and their user acquisition, their marketing, all those things to their great partners like Shrapnel. That's what I think success looks like. It's not just great technology, it's great partnerships.
Very
There's
well.
your audio clip for the week.
Paul is
Sorry,
always
I didn't
good.
even mean to do it that way, but
No, dude,
I'm
it
just
needs to
passionate
be
about this
said.
because honestly, guys, I have just been here so many times before, and I've worked with companies that had great technology but weren't willing to like do the other things, weren't willing to show up with like funding, exclusivity, partnerships, user acquisition help, all those things. And I'm like, you're just not going to make it. Like, I
Yeah.
get that you have great technology, but it doesn't work that way.
Son, yeah, like, dude, being a good, tech layer, being a good chain is the bare minimum at this point, right? It's what you
Exactly.
can do for people beyond that. And it's
Exactly.
amazing to me. AVAX listens to that, right? And you can see that they're doing that. A lot of chains aren't listening to that yet, and they're still just like, yeah, it's fast, it's cheap. Well, like that's the standard at this point.
Yeah, well said, guys. And I'll say, even before this sponsorship, people have been asking me for a long time which chain I recommend building on, mainly because they conflate me with the Wolves DAO and they think that I'm smart, which is a complete misnomer. So first of all, you shouldn't have been asking me for advice. But whenever I do give advice, I always say that it's really important to not just consider the grant money. It's important to consider the support that'll go along with it. And I think that's what Paul is alluding to. And there's two, maybe three chains that I've been recommending based on the entire network of support that I see them giving people. And Avalanche for at least a year has been one of the ones that I recommend because of that. And so, big shout out for that. But we're moving on. Dump Date Mary Web 2 edition in the same vein. We're bringing back Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, and God of War. Okay, this is Date, Dump, and Marry, the franchise that you would be willing to, throw by the river, the one that you want to go on a few dates with, and the one that you want to marry forever. I'm going to make people make that distinction. Lems, Dump, Date, or Marry, Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, God of War.
All right, I'm probably going to get flamed for this, but I was telling Sam on the prep, I have almost every God of War game and have not actually played them because I really like the idea of God of War, but I just haven't taken the time to play through the series. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But I'm not a big fan of Red Dead Redemption, which someone else probably flamed me for, so I'm going to dump that. I will date God of War, and maybe I'll actually get through my backlog and play all the games, and then marry GTA. It's kind of an easy win based on like the earlier part of the show and everyone talking about how amazing GTA is.
If everybody marries GTA, I'm never inviting any of you back onto the panel. Koji, over to you, man.
Maybe this like revokes my cred for even being here, but I'm gonna dump them all.
What?
Yeah, no, they're all dead to me, and I'm being completely honest. Like, the only one that even comes close is maybe God of War these days. Like this open world, you can do whatever you want, shoot people and whatever. I'm like so bored of it. Everyone's ranting about not that it's GTA, but everyone's ranting about Spider-Man 2 and stuff. I'm like, whatever. Like, I'm just so bored of like, not that I want a game that like pulls me in, like Last of Us or something, right? Like, give me some narrative, give me something that like I can really sink my teeth into. And I don't know. I feel like they spend so much time building the world that they don't spend enough time building the game part of it for me. And so I'm just like, I'm dumping all those games. I know God of War is also like really good, but I don't play action games that much anymore. You know, I want to level my character and do all that nerdy shit, so I'm dumping them all.
Brutal stuff, man. Dub, tagging you in next. I know you've played all of these, right?
No, bro, I'm dumping them all too. Like I've literally never played these games. I've never been interested in these games. I never even watched a stream of these games. Like I sat back and watched my brother play like GTA 3 once and was like, oh, okay, cool, you can run around, have fun. It's a fucking walking simulator. Like who cares? Like I've never been interested in them and I'm not going to be interested in anything that they're going to put coming out forward.
Jesus.
And that was the death of the redemption arc. Oh my goodness. You did not just say that about GTA 3.
Double play 74 hours of Shiba Doge Tamagotchi Simulator, but he won't play Grand Theft Auto. This is mind-blowing stuff. Tony from Shrapnel tagging you in next.
Oh no, I only heard the God of War and GTA. What was the third option?
Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, so I am definitely killing God of War. I think I would have married it back in the day, but now that I'm a little older, it's just out of my sphere. I'm gonna marry Red Dead. I think Koji is maybe on crack cocaine because Red Dead has just one of the greatest like suck you in arcs that of any game I've ever played. And then yeah, I mean I'm gonna have Grand Theft Auto. I got my daughter in the car, so I can't finish the word, but you know. I think the Grand Theft Auto formula is for a good FM.
Hazel in shambles in the back seat. She says, "Finish the crack of the statement, Dad." Maddox makes in the comments. He says, "Date Red Dead Redemption, dump GTA, and marry God of War. It's taken his heart through so many emotional places." Mr. House says he just re-downloaded and started replaying Dragon Age Origins for that reason and tags Koji. Paisan says you can't compare a solo experience to an open world. Two totally different experiences. Mayu says, in the winter of 2022, all I did was watch God of War speedruns every single night to fall asleep. And Addis says, looking forward to the newsletter. Shout out for that. Fresco, over to you, man.
Wait, real quick. Open world is an experience that I don't enjoy. So, you know, fuck that. And also to Tony, like I don't need to spend 2 hours customizing my saddle so that I can ride my horse for an extra 10 minutes or whatever. Like I get it. I get it.
Koji fully embodying the PFP. He has become alternate Koji, and we're in a different universe now. Fresco, tagging you in, man.
Yeah, Koji's definitely on crack cocaine. Just look at his PFP. If it was a Hell's Angels game instead of Red Dead, he'd be all about it. I would marry GTA because it's gonna be the biggest game of all time, and you know it already is. And Tommy Vercetti was like my first father figure in life. I would marry Red Dead, or I would date Red Dead. Not really that interested in it. You know, God of War. That's like the Michael Bay movie of video games. So I'd dump that.
Icy, over to you, man.
First and foremost, I got to stay over at Tony's house last week for the play test at Shrapnel Studios, and I got to meet Hazel. She is a gem. So shout out to Hazel. And yeah, I am gonna marry. Thank God Koji said what he said, and Dub flying off the handle so that I can say that, yeah, I'm marrying GTA. You guys are crazy. I'm right there with Fresco. Fresco, we're back, baby. Shout out to Matt DeFi's in the audience. Like, I heard it's going to be play to earn, so cannot wait for that. GTA 6 confirmed Web3 game. Probably gonna date Red Dead Redemption for the same reasons that Tony said. I wasn't like ever a really big God of War guy. Probably, you know, in my younger days would have been appealing. So probably gonna dump God of War. It feels bad to say that, but GTA baby.
All right, I'm shouting out Zach D, aka Dragoon. He says, "Marry God of War. Storytelling is really fun. Dump Red Dead Redemption and date Grand Theft Auto." And then T Please also says, "Dump Red Dead Redemption, date Grand Theft Auto, and marry God of War." And he also adds, "I have platinum trophies in God of War," which is really fucking hard to do if nobody's played that game to that extent. Holy moly! Wild Paul, over to you, man.
I mean, it's got to be marry Grand Theft Auto because like that's the world you can live in. You could spend the rest of your life with. I wish it was Red Dead. Like I mean that's I'm gonna have to go with date for that. I wish that was a world I could live in and spend all my time. Wish there was basically like a Red Dead MMO. Like that would be incredible if I could just live in that world in the way I can with Grand Theft Auto. But it's not there yet. But that's their opportunity to build that. And then I mean, I don't like to dump any of three of these amazing games, but I guess I have to dump on God of War because I loved that franchise when it was being run by Corey and by the original Sony Santa Monica team. I feel like the latest versions of it, like, just got too, like, just kind of like adopted that same kind of open world formula that you see in like all of the giant open world Sony games these days, and it just kind of lost some of the spice and the impact and I mean, I'm not saying it has incredible combat, whatever, but it just kind of lost that balance. The original, like the original God of Wars for me were just like these adrenaline pumping experiences, and the latest ones are about crying over your father son relationship, which I'm all for that. I love my son. I have that, but it's kind of not what I'm looking for to God of War. I think they took a bold choice with originally, but I'd like to see them return to the pulse pounding, tearing heads off roots that they started with.
Knock, the man himself, is in the comments. He must be listening in because I cannot believe the Red Dead Redemption 2 disrespect. Oh my God, Sam, fix this panel. I'm sorry, Knock. If I could, I would. This is why we got to do more in real life episodes so I can just ring the necks of the panelists live and in person. Lambs, over to you, man.
Shout out to Moneyplan, another regular who's always there in the comments, going dump Red Dead, date GTA, and marry God of War. And the reason he's getting an overworld whitelist is because he has the most amazing God of War themed gift that I don't even know how to describe.
Let's go. You gotta love it, man. Moving on. Future or futile is this next game mode. Crunchyroll adds streaming games to their anime streaming service, and luckily for us, we've got Kuhn, one of the founders of Crunchyroll. I'm really excited to hear what he has to say about this. But first, Netflix did the same thing recently. They have been spending an absolutely berserk amount of money, not just onboarding previous Web 2 game titles onto their platform, but also adding their own and spending money on direct game development. My question is, are we on the path of everything becoming gamified, but pun intended, or is this future of streaming services a futile attempt for them to stay relevant? Fresco, you thumbs me down, so I'm going to send it over to you first.
I don't have strong opinions. I just hated your pun.
Wow. Okay, perfect. Shrapnel, Tony, sending it over to you.
Here's what I'll say. Content is king, and Netflix is creating some pretty good content, and so it is not inconceivable to me that they would be able to put together a hit. And I'd be interested to hear from Paul a little bit too, because I know that, like me, Paul's an old man and has been working in the industry for a
It's
while.
true.
Yeah,
It's true.
and the folks that I know that have landed over at Netflix, like I have a good amount of respect for, and I think that given the way that they've been building slow, like I'm inclined to say let them cook, and they're probably going to do something good.
Damn it, man. You're really going to put me on the spot with this. I got too many friends over at Netflix right now to go off on this topic. Let me just say, I haven't seen it yet. Okay. I've seen a lot now in the other direction. I mean, like The Last of Us, come on, just insane. And well, I guess that wasn't Netflix though. That was HBO, wasn't it? But anyway, insane, like, content going from games to super high quality linear media. I have had conversations with Netflix over the years that have been about the potential that I believe that they have to really take this incredible creative engine that they've got running, right? I mean, I was there, like you guys know, my co-founder, Wild Kate, who's also my wife, film and TV producers, been in this world forever, been in lots of rooms with Netflix, negotiating for shows and everything else. We watched. We were there when Netflix came in and just completely upended that entire industry with TV and film and everything they've done, and they did a pretty incredibly good job of it, right? And so watching them move into gaming, I just am not seeing that same thing yet. But I've been trying to have conversations with them about the opportunity there, about the fact that they have this engine of creativity, this incredible team that understands how to produce, fund, curate, and distribute incredibly high quality content when it comes to linear media. And so looking for them to have a similar strategy in video games, right? I mean, maybe the company I would point most to right now, in similarity, would that isn't like Sony or whatever, would possibly be Annapurna, right? Like you look at the games, and they're definitely very indie, right? So it's more like kind of early Netflix, I guess, in a way. Like Annapurna hasn't had like a giant breakout hit, but consistently they've produced insanely high quality games that has put them as a publisher on the map. And so I thought, well, that's the most obvious strategy for Netflix, right? But there's just not what they've been doing. I think that they seem to be more interested in like sort of coming up with another reason for someone to have a Netflix subscription, which is generally like the Amazon Prime model, right? It's like let's just create additional benefits, and generally in like mobile games and like other lightweight things for somebody to pay, to have to upgrade or update or not cancel their Netflix subscription, which is a little bit of a less risky kind of approach. I'd really like to see them put the same creative energy into creating big, bold games and brand new IPs that they have put into film and TV, and I'm not seeing that yet. But let's see.
I can read between the lines. Paul just wants a Scorsese-esque blank check to build his next game for one of these streamers.
Yeah. Okay, fine. I might have been in that room having that conversation at one point in the past. I'm not wasting my time with that anymore right now.
Wow, Paul, way to lay it all out there. While we're talking about Paul, though, Money Plane, always a fan of the show. Appreciate you coming back yet again. He says, wow, it took 41 episodes, but the first ever bad Paul Bettner take, and it was
I know it. I
it was
love this.
about
I love that it was
God of
about God of
War.
War. I love that this guy's name is Money Plane, by the way. Like, because that, I don't know. Go listen to the last episode if you want to know why that's funny. And I was just responding that, yeah, man, it's taken a lot of work, but I'm so glad that finally God of War was the thing that got me there to a bad take with somebody. Because I did say that none of those games were bad, but I have to dump someone. So there you go. Sorry.
Yeah, thank God, Paul, one of the few panelists that always plays by the rules. Appreciate that, and I want to hear from people in the comments on this one about this whole, Netflix, Crunchyroll, and stuff importing games as part of their live service. I find it really interesting, and what I want to hear from you guys is: have you ever played a Netflix game? And I'll kick us off by saying I played Tomb Raider, which is like a roguelite on Netflix. It maybe caught me for like 10 sessions, which was more than I expected. It caught me coming back for more, for more, longer than I expected. It was decent, but then I never went back. I haven't downloaded another Netflix game. Dub, over to you, man.
Thanks. Yeah, dude, it's super interesting because watching these mega corporations, they're essentially creating these vertical integration channels and just seeing like whatever they're using and having like service providers provide, they're trying to create themselves now. And like that's where I worked previously at Decathlon, which was doing $14 billion a year in sporting goods. The way they did that was vertical integration. They're like, okay, we're done selling bikes from everyone else. We're just going to make it ourselves and do all these kind of things. And that unlocks so much more IP stuff you can do. All of a sudden, a bike could be matching a snowboard and you hit the same customer. And like, I think they're going to be going for the same thing here, just on the gaming market. And I'm really looking forward to it.
McChillin in the audience asks, how do you even play Netflix games? It's like a tab now when you open it up on your phone. And I assume most of the people's answer is no, and they're going to be like, oh, I don't want to comment because I've never played one. That's kind of the point. I want to see if there's like 80% people saying no and 10%, 20% people saying yes. Yeah, I would find it super curious. Kuhn, I want to tag you in on this one. I don't know if you're still involved with Crunchyroll or had any hand in this decision making, but I'm super interested in your perspective on the decision to add games to this streaming service.
Yeah, so these opinions are my own. I haven't been day to day for some time, but I think what it comes down to is, for a subscription service, what is the reason to add on to that subscription service? And I think for Netflix, it's we need one more reason for them to stay a Netflix subscriber. And so there's a value question of, okay, what are the games that we can add to our subscription that attracts or retains the most existing subscribers? And so they're going broad based. That's one. I think the second is they have their own IP and their own franchises, and they're trying to explore monetization or brand building. And games is part of that 360. My view of Crunchyroll's approach, and I basically kicked off our initial foray into game publishing, is Crunchyroll has a very captive audience, and the streaming and the content service is an incredible user acquisition engine. And basically, that means anyone who is into anything anime is going to be in the Crunchyroll experience for watching content at some point. That's a pro. The con is it's hard to increase the monetization dial because at the end of the day, you're just charging $10 a month or $15 a month, and there's a cap to that. So gaming here, I think for Crunchyroll is really more of a monetization engine because we know with games, you can really dial that up. You can create experiences where there's whales, where they're really engaged in the game and the brand, and so they're willing to spend a lot more ARPU, and it's really a variable ARPU. And at the same time, I think these kinds of games, specifically anime games, if they're to launch on their own, they're going to have a tough time because we all know for most games you have to budget a significant portion of your spend towards marketing and user acquisition, which Crunchyroll has essentially free on the platform. And so I think it's a real win-win for what they're trying to do.
Appreciate you being willing to chime in there so much. And as he said, that was his own opinion, doesn't represent the company's. So please don't hold it against anybody, whether it's Kuhn or anybody else on the panel. And for the layman out there, ARPU is average revenue per user. So if you add games with monetization, you could potentially get more revenue per user that you already have on the platform. Couple of quick comments. Crystal says, Netflix games, I've never heard of it. Zach D says, I've been a subscriber on Crunchyroll for as long as I've been alive and never have touched a Crunchyroll game. I don't think the games are out yet. It might be getting close. McChillin says, bro, I don't have the Netflix app on my phone, just PlayStation, which defeats the purpose for me. Fair enough. King Apollo says, never have played a Netflix game, but I will now. Etherway says, Netflix has games. So so far, nobody's telling me they're cruising on Netflix games too aggressively. Shrapnel, Tony, tagging you in, man.
Man, I hope that we get Kuhn on this thing more often. You are just fucking legit, dude. That that description of the business model and vision for Crunchyroll was like a masterclass in strategy. If anyone's listening to this or has a chance to record it, like that's the thing that you should clip is all that shit that he just said. That was mind blowing, dude. I love the connection between lowering cost of customer acquisition and the captive audience that Crunchyroll has. And tying it back to the question about Netflix, I have played some Netflix games, but they've mostly been like the on-screen experiences that you can play regardless of what device you're on. So like Bandersnatch was like a choose your own adventure type thing. My 7-year-old and I play the Carmen Sandiego game from time to time, which is similarly like a choose your own adventure. And I think that there's some legs on stuff like that, to be frank. And honestly, I never used Netflix on a mobile device. Maybe that's because I'm a boomer. I'm 37. I'm not a boomer. I'm a millennial, but I just never have done that. So I guess I would never discover the mobile games that way. But that being said, I think that Kuhn, I don't know how involved you are in whatever Netflix is doing in games, but they should, if you're at all involved with that company, they should be asking you to come opine on their strategy all the time. That was I'm like literally mind blowing.
Of course, I'm sure he means Crunchyroll, not Netflix, but appreciate the mind-blowing alpha that you're able to give us, my man. It was absolutely fantastic. Sinjin, I'm tagging you in next, brother.
Yeah, I agree mostly with entirely with what Paul had been saying. I think I have downloaded one game off of Netflix, and it's Samurai Showdown. And if you don't know that game, it's a really old school fighter, and I love that game so much. It's because I saw the icon for it, and so a lot of these streaming services may not have that gaming DNA, and you have to think about like why people are going to that streaming service in the first place. I mean, they have a certain intent, but like I remember the first time that I had gone Amazon Prime was because of House of Cards. And so like again, like games are really, what drives things, and unless any of these services really get a hit game where they can really promote, then this kind of like streaming services, in terms of like, even if they have a ton of games on there, there's an issue of like game discovery, but also, you need something to really drive it. And I think, going half-ass into gaming, and I'm not saying that they are going half-ass, but like, it's a really dedicated effort. I mean, if you look at some of the huge companies that have tried to get into gaming already, like Amazon, whatever like that, I mean, like, if you don't have that DNA, I mean, it's just not going to happen. And it really is that different demographic there.
Well said, and I stand corrected. Dragoon, he posted some pictures of the Games tab, having been there for a while on Crunchyroll. So maybe they are already live, which would be awesome. Koji, I'm going to send it over to you next, brother.
I mean, I want to piggyback on something that Sinjin just said, and basically, the one thing that I think Crunchyroll has going for it, or more than the one thing, but one thing that it has going for it, is that the overlap between the reason why people are going to Crunchyroll and the amount of gamers that make up that group is probably a lot larger than anything like Netflix or Amazon or any of these other places, because it's a very generalist environment, a lot of those, but Crunchyroll kind of has baked into it. I think like the Venn diagram between I watch anime and I play video games at least in North America, is like might as well just be one circle. So I think it makes perfect sense. And if they can get a couple decent titles, like I don't even think it has to be a killer title. I think if they can get some fun, decent titles in there, people will be more willing to give it a shot on that service than any of these other streaming services.
Yeah, I want to give Frisco a quick shout out too, because I see that somebody was asking questions in the comments, and he was giving really thoughtful responses. If anybody asks questions that are not part of the agenda on the show, unfortunately, we have a really tight agenda, so that means that I can't just like randomly present new questions. But that doesn't mean that our amazing panelists won't jump in and give you thoughtful responses in the interim in the comments. And so, huge shout out to you guys that managed to do that. I appreciate it so much. Wild Paul, I'm going over to you next.
I just wanted to build on what Sinjin was saying too. Like the thing is, so what can happen at companies like this? Like Amazon is like this, as far as I understand. Netflix is like this. They're very data driven companies, right? These are Silicon Valley. These are tech companies that happen to be in entertainment, but really so much of their business is driven by the tech, and that's kind of where they got their start, and that's their culture. I think what's amazing about what Netflix did in linear media is they were able to take that data-driven culture and actually be successful with it in film and TV. But I think where it sort of breaks down, I don't know if it breaks down, but it creates this conflict that we're all talking about. When you have a company like that that's driven by data, what can happen is at a high level you get this like corporate agenda and KPIs and whatever the OKRs that become the thing that's actually driving the bus, right? In this case, I'm sure, I don't know, I'm just guessing, but I'm sure that Netflix has a high level KPI which says we need to just drive users into the mobile app, period. Like they're just measuring it at the top level, exec level, shareholder level, and saying we just need more people installing the app and launching the app every day. And so that KPI probably then translates into the strategy you're seeing. I mean, I don't know if it's been brought up yet. I haven't heard about it on the panel yet, but their big announcement recently was the Hades thing, right? They're bringing a mobile port of Hades, and they haven't said this yet, but the assumption is into the app, right? And what's potentially exciting about this is the first time Hades is playable on mobile, and Hades is the most incredible game. If you haven't played it yet, holy crap, you are missing out. It is just an insanely good game. And so it's kind of cool that it's coming to mobile, but it's also like I don't even know, like 5-year-old game at this point or something, 4-year-old game. Like it's old. It's not like some big new announcement. In fact, Hades 2 is the thing we're all excited about, which is coming next year, right? So the fact that like that's currently how that strategy is playing out, which is like they're just trying to get people to like use this other tab in their mobile app, and that's driving the strategy. Like that's fine. I think we're all kind of, we look at Netflix and we think like custom brand new IP, amazing new content, because that's what we're used to on the film and TV side. I would just like to see them take a more double-sided approach. Again, having been in that room, I'm fine with them with having the strategy of wanting to drive mobile users, but I think they're Netflix and they have the opportunity to create original content in games, and I'd love to really see that happening more.
All right, I want to tag in the legend who's joining us from the audience, the always educated and ever opinionated Saint. Welcome, man. Is Netflix and Crunchyroll adding games to their streaming services the future, or is it a futile attempt to stay relevant?
Yeah, great topic. It's been awesome to hear all of your guys' points. I think one of the things I'm probably most excited about is that we're at least just seeing the evolution of distribution and publishing kind of take fold, right? And these are entertainment giants that are recognizing, hey, I have audience attention. How does gaming play a role into it? And I think, while Paul hits it on the head well, right? A lot of these guys are going to be utilizing games for extending metrics for their actual core business, while others will be looking at it as, hey, this is a new revenue generation. And when it comes to Netflix, we haven't really seen this as revenue generation, right? What are they trying to do? It's subscription lock-in, right? Their belief is that, hey, we're going to get greater discovery, greater lock-in, greater value. That's what all of our enterprise value is built upon. So their goal isn't actually to build a hit, because a hit doesn't actually change the unit economics of that business yet. But I think Wild Paul's exactly right. They should be figuring out how to take an advantage of their virality of content and moving it into gaming, right? If they time this correctly, right, like Squid Game Season 2 should have both a show and a game launching at the same time, and that's where we start seeing compounding power, which is a lot interesting. On the Crunchyroll side, it's a little bit different.
And I'm not saying we pitched Squid Games happening in the wild card arena, but I'm not saying we didn't either.
I mean, that's the best part, because it's anticipated stuff. Because, right, what is Netflix's largest risk is that they don't know what's going to be a hit directly, but they actually do know what's going to be a hit directly also at the same time, right? Like a lot of people were confused, like why did Netflix sign Adam Sandler Studios, like Billy Madison Productions or Happy Madison Productions, way back in the day for a huge amount of money? It wasn't because I'm a huge Adam Sandler fan, by the way, but it wasn't because like Adam Sandler was the greatest actor of all time. It was because Adam Sandler was loved in Asia. And it was a huge part of their China growth, right? And it was a huge part of their Asia-based growth. So it was an easy acquisition for them because it led to subscription growth within a region that they weren't growing in. So their tactics on acquisition and building content is going to be different. I think Crunchyroll is actually in a way more interesting position, to be very honest. And the real reason why I think Crunchyroll is in a different position is because they're UGC content already. When you already have UGC content and actual fan bases being built around IP, that is actually a very interesting inflection point to introduce potential gaming content and publishing. More importantly, it's the anime category. If there's a category I could choose to win right now, it would be anime, hands down. It's global distribution, global opportunity, global access. I think Crunchyroll's biggest problem is going to be is how do you take fragmented audiences and build them aggregated launches? And that's what you kind of already seen with all these kind of individual storytelling. So which IP do you forge up and what do you scale? If I'm actually Crunchyroll, I'm trying to gamify the entire process. It's not being a game publisher. It is gamifying content consumption through a different type of gaming experience. And it hits both retention and upselling monetization. So very curious to see where it is, but let me cede a little bit of the floor because I know it took a lot of time there back.
Dude, the Adam Sandler for growth in Asia thing blew my mind. I would not have made that correlation. That's freaking awesome. IC, I'll send it to you next, bro.
Oh man, I have nothing to add to this topic. I just wanted to say that I hosted a space earlier this week and got so much more of an appreciation of what you do every single week, Sam. And I just wanted to give you that shout out because you're replying in the comments, you're managing the stage, you're also present and listening to all the takes and having like incredible segues. So I just want to give you that appreciation because you're an absolute legend. This is not easy. I was like sweating bullets. I was also riding high on adrenaline, and I can't believe that you produce such an incredible show every single week. And it's been an honor to be here. That's all. That's all.
Thanks, buddy. I didn't see that coming, but appreciate it.
Fanboy.
Kuhn from Crunchyroll, I'm gonna tag you in again, man.
Yeah, I think something just to take a note of is with really very little or no, maybe no exception, every streaming platform that has been successful has started on the back of distributing content. And the reason for that is distributing content in the early days is just really inexpensive. You get the content really cheaply before it blows up. So Netflix started by distributing DVDs with first Cell Doctor, and Crunchyroll by distributing anime that's already produced, Hulu from basically TV broadcasts, et cetera, et cetera. And all their DNA is starting from a distribution perspective, which is put out what's out there, look at the data, see what hits, and then that informs the original content strategy. And so I think if you view Netflix in that way, they're probably thinking very similarly with gaming, which is let's put some stuff out there. It's not original, that's fine, but we'll get data, we'll see what hits this audience, and then that will help us inform what is going to be our equivalent of the Adam Sandler, but in the gaming space. So I'm kind of more interested in seeing that because I think that's where we'll see the original new IP being developed for gaming.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick, I just want to see Netflix fund talent. The Adam Sandler thing is a great example, right? Fund teams, fund talent to make new stuff. Don't just acquire existing things.
I couldn't agree more, man. I'm so sick of everything being a derivative IP. Dub, tagging you in, and then over to Fresco real quick.
Yeah, I think the specific example that's driving all this was actually the success of Arcane. Everyone looks at that and looks at what League of Legends did with that, and they're like, okay, I want to do that. And that's what everyone's teeing up for with vertical integration. It's also why we see Parallel, Shrapnel, everyone developing lore and having like IP ready stuff to do more and to start doing this model that clearly works.
Fresco, tagging you in, bro.
Yeah, just real quick, I think, kind of piggybacking off what like Paul just said about like funding talent and having, finding a way to create new experiences. Even looking at something like Jackbox Games or whatever and having that be on Netflix and something that you could play like with people, or like there's a game called Killer Queen, which is a kind of obscure like arcade game. If nobody's ever played it, figure out a place to play it. It's fucking amazing. Sam, there's a place down the street from us that we can go to. And like I think a game like that would do so well like on a platform like Netflix where everybody has it and you can kind of create this fun experience like within a home even or like as part of a game night. And I think there's a huge lane to kind of expand on, you know, having experiences like with people there, you know, through like just an expansion of kind of like almost board games 2.0.
Bro, I'm sorry to chime in, but I played Killer Queen with Kate Irwin and with Seif from Gala Games at GDC. It was incredible. Such a good game. I love that you just said that, Fresco.
You love to hear it. Somebody bring it to GDC so we can have a great time. Saint, tagging you back in, brother.
Yeah, I mean, since Kuhn's here, I'm very interested, and I think this is like the very intriguing thing with what Crunchyroll is doing is that we've actually seen, this has never been a new business model, right? This has always been the same. If you own inventory, you have attention, you cross promo, right? And in mobile gaming, this has always been the case where, you can do instant ad walls, right? Where it's like, hey, install another game and you'll get some, rewards. And it kind of creates a secondary revenue stream, but it's always usually fractional, right? So the question that begs is that, distribution is one where you're taking advantage of your existing audience and eyeballs and redirecting it for usually a kickback on the CPI or similar LTV. I think the real question will come down to is what does that lead to as a publishing leverage or a differentiated like competitive moat? And I think this is where a lot of people are going to race to, because if I'm in Crunchyroll's shoes, I'm trying to be like, we're the best launch pad for all anime content, period, right? And that means that should be gaming, comics, mangas, whatever it may be, right? Within that category. So the question that begs is then, how do you make that better for gaming? And like Crunchyroll has huge advantages, right? Like they know who's actually spending and consuming and geolocations of those users. So it starts becoming like an interesting targeting and publishing based platform. But right now, when you look at Crunchyroll, though, at the moment right now, it's just cross promo. So the question just begs is how well does this evolve? How quickly does this evolve? And is this meaningful more than just 10% more revenue stream boost? Or is this a category definer for the organization? And that's really the hardest challenge for everyone, right? Do I want to publish, develop, and scale? Or do I just want to be cross promo distribution? And this is where I think a lot of the challenges are going to be. And most people realize you do the latter because it's easiest.
Well said. Koji, I'm going to give you the last word on this one. Then we're going to put a pin in another great episode of Gamified. Over to you.
I just wanted to respond to the statement that we have lore because we're looking for some kind of Netflix deal. We actually have lore because a bunch of us are only child basement dwellers with too much time on our hands. It wasn't until afterwards that we realized, like, hey, maybe people will actually want to know more. But yeah, that's it. I don't actually have anything useful to add.
Well,
I just want to know what part of the lore is currently on your TomTom. That's what I want to know.
I'm a Shroud Baxi, man. It's just a shadowy, flamey Shroud skull.
Can I just add on that point though? I mean, I know we're joking about it, but like gameplay is what brings in your audience. Lore and IP is what keeps them forever, right? Like that's the real opportunity when we're building businesses like this. And not all games have to do that, but I think that's what we point to Arcane, right? Like that's what we all love. That's what we all kind of most gravitate towards. And that's the real opportunity here when we're talking about these giant companies that are all about IP is like investing in that.
Well
Yeah,
said.
that's all dope for Halo, right? Like in the Halo movies.
Exactly. It's insane, right? That should be the biggest thing in the universe right now. And it's just this kind of like continually dropped thing that I hopefully someday they fix that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we reload and regroup at the end of this adrenaline-infused episode of Gamified, let's give a final booming shout to the legends that supercharged our showdowns. Shrapnel, the official game of Gamified, the apex predator of FPS arenas, where every crack of a sniper's round and every mastermind's maneuver weaves an epic saga of skirmishes under the glow of the explosion-lit sky. Speaking of Shrapnel, I'm going to give an extraction pack to somebody that retweets the space in the next 10 minutes. As we cool our barrels from the heated clashes of Gamified, march on over to shrapnel.com, suit up, select your arsenal, and stand by for the next mission. The next battleground awaits. And of course, Shrapnel's on none other than Avalanche. So as we wrap up this thrilling episode, let's remember that not every tempest turns to turmoil. With Avalanche, what seems like a storm becomes the start of a blockchain breakthrough, bringing a diamond-sharp clarity to a realm often seen as a whiteout. Let's give a frosty cheer to our guiding light in the game of digital ledger labyrinths. Avalanche, the official blockchain of Gamified. And how can we forget our beloved panel that gives us 2 hours every single week to entertain and educate us. I'm going to start with my man Sinjin, My Angry Yakuza Girlfriend, one of the most fun turn-based games I've ever played. I'm so excited for all the great stuff you have going on. Of course, AVAX and Shrapnel, you guys blow my mind with your support every single week. I'm so excited to potentially see Shrapnel over at Art Basel. Saint coming in from the top rope, representing Tribe. Always so incredibly impressed with your community over there. Mr. Gon Koji, the man with the atrocious profile picture representing Parallel, which could not be a more stark contrast in quality of graphics compared to whatever the hell I'm looking at right now. Always a big fan of Parallel. Wild Paul, always up to some incredible stuff. Please, my man, give me something I can play because I just want to get another fix. It's been all the way since 3XP since I
That's
got
gonna
in
happen
there.
then. We're doing it. We're doing it.
Dude, just DM me a time slot, okay? That's
All
what I
right.
need from you. That's
All
what I
right,
need
but
from you.
actually, I need not just a time slot. I need to know who you're going up against. So you got to
Oh,
pick your opponent.
Fighting me, that's who he's fighting. Come on now.
Okay, well, that's the thing. So I'm gonna leave it to Sam to pick his opponent, but make it worthy.
Can I call out Icy right now?
I would love for that to happen.
Bro, you do nothing but call me out, Fresco, and I love you for it.
wait, I'll play Dub, and then Icy and Fresco will play, and then we'll do a bracket, and
Oh,
whoever
sweet.
wins plays.
Okay,
Okay.
that needs
Yeah,
to happen. We're doing
it's
it.
set.
You heard it here.
Of course, up next, Icy, man, what he's doing with the Gamer League and Owned. I'm so excited for you guys. Big shout out. I hope it's hugely successful. Don't forget to mint your mercenary for free. Shout out to those guys. Dub, he's played every single Web3 game, previously at Soulbound and now at Shrapnel. Great to have you on that team, man. So excited for you. Keep killing it. Coco representing Army of Fortune. We didn't even get to talk about it, but what they're doing on TikTok is absolutely unbelievable. I think they're at some atrociously high number. Coco, what's the number? How many views on TikTok these days?
I mean, we're getting like 50,000 new followers a day, but I mean, no, a week, sorry. But about 4 million followers altogether across our IP.
Freaking bananas. It's relatively recent too. That's all in the past like year. So huge congrats. I'm excited to play Army of Fortune. I haven't had a chance yet. Fresco always killing it in the land of business development. I can't wait to see what you're up to next, man. I know the next venture is right around the corner. Kuhn from Crunchyroll, from Forge. I'm so excited for what you guys are doing. I got a chance to look at the platform. He spent a whole half hour walking me through it the other day, and I'm really, really impressed with some of the things that they're doing with questing. I think it is absolutely awesome. Kate from Decrypt had to drop off, but I want to give Decrypt a huge shout out. Kate is always absolutely crushing it. And of course, my man Knock, who's going to be doing the newsletter. Huge shout out to you, brother. I hope you enjoyed the episode, even though you couldn't take part in it this week. That's it. The last shout out I have is always for the amazing people. We hit 250 concurrent listeners at some point. Again, thank you guys for retweeting out the space after we got rugged. I can't believe we still hit those numbers despite 200 notifications just going out into the ether. You are all amazing. 250 comments. I'm just flattered every single week that you guys show up. And I can't wait to run it back again, same time next week, every single Wednesday, 1 p.m. PST. I'll see y'all again real soon. Smooches.
Smooches.
Love you, Sam.
Moochers. Fresco is weak.
Fresco, go. Guys, I forgot that I was still streaming. Sam, thank you so much, man. My first debut. I keep saying first debut. You only have one debut. My debut on Gamified. The best show in Web3 gaming, hands down, bar none. I hope that you guys enjoyed that. We are so back, baby. Shout out Avalanche, shout out Owned, guys. I hope that you enjoyed the stream. That was cool. Thank you for being here with me while we were doing that. Loved the show, loved being on. Hopefully I made people proud. Whew, baby. All right. See you in the next one, guys. Have a good one. Peace.